There's a sensation that chosen ones recognize instantly, a tingling that starts at the base of your spine and moves upward, wave after wave, sometimes gentle, sometimes so intense you have to stop what you're doing. The church called it dangerous. Modern medicine calls it irrelevant. But in a hidden teaching that survived 17 centuries of suppression, Jesus explained exactly what this feeling means and why the archons fear it more than any other sign of awakening. Place your hand on the back of your neck right now. That warmth you might feel gathering there isn't random. It's responding to recognition. Something in you knew to find this video tonight because what I'm about to reveal connects directly to that tingling you felt but never fully understood. In the Pistis Sophia, there's a passage where Mary Magdalene asks Jesus about physical sensations during spiritual activation. His answer was so precise, so technical in its description of energy mechanics, that scholars assumed it was metaphorical. They were wrong. Jesus was describing the monad seals, 7 specific points along your spine where fragments of divine consciousness remain dormant until the moment you're ready to remember what you actually are. If you felt unexplained tingling in your spine, especially during moments of deep truth or sudden realization, comment the words, "The seals are moving," right now. Let other chosen ones know they're not experiencing this alone. Here's what the institutional church never wanted you to discover. Those tingles aren't medical anomalies. They're not stress responses or nerve issues. They're confirmation that your divine spark is beginning to interface with your physical body in ways the demiurge specifically designed this realm to prevent. Every chosen one carries these 7 seals, but most will live entire lifetimes without feeling them activate because the system is built to keep you numb to your own power. The Gospel of Philip mentions sealed vessels that contain light too intense for material reality. For centuries, translators assumed this was poetic language about spiritual purity. Then the Nag Hammadi texts revealed the technical truth. Your spine isn't just bone and nerve tissue. It's a vertical channel designed to conduct monad frequency from the base of your physical form to the crown of your consciousness. Each seal acts as both a lock and a transformer, protecting your human nervous system from energy it couldn't otherwise withstand, while simultaneously preventing premature activation that the archons could detect and suppress. Think about the last time you felt that distinctive sensation. What were you doing? Most chosen ones report the same patterns: reading something that triggered deep recognition, hearing a specific frequency or piece of music, being in nature, particularly near water or in forests, having a conversation where truth was spoken without filter. These aren't coincidences. These are conditions that create temporary gaps in the archon suppression field, moments when your seals can begin their unlocking sequence without immediate interference. But there's a mechanism to this that Jesus taught which changes everything about how you understand your own body. The seals don't unlock from top to bottom like most spiritual traditions claim. They unlock from the center outward, starting with the 4th seal located directly behind your heart. This seal is called the recognition point, and it's the first one that begins to dissolve when a chosen one starts to awaken. The 4th seal tingling feels different from the others. It's warmer, more sustained, and it often pulses in rhythm with your heartbeat. When you feel this specific sensation, your monad fragment is testing the connection, sending small bursts of higher frequency through the channel to see if your physical system can handle increased flow. Most people dismiss this as heart palpitations or anxiety. Chosen ones who pay attention recognize it as the beginning of something far more significant. Now here's where it gets precise. Jesus taught that the unlocking follows a specific sequence after the fourth seal begins its activation. The pattern moves to the second seal at the base of your throat, then jumps to the sixth seal between your shoulder blades, then drops to the first seal at the base of your spine. This isn't random. This sequence creates a wave pattern that gradually acclimates your nervous system to higher frequencies without overloading the circuits. You might be wondering why this information was buried. Why would the church suppress a teaching about physical sensations? Because once a chosen one understands what the tingles mean, they stop dismissing them. They start paying attention, and attention is activation. Every time you consciously acknowledge the sensation, you strengthen the connection. Every time you place your awareness on the specific location of the tingling, you accelerate the unlocking process. The archons built their entire suppression system on your ignorance of these mechanics. The Apocryphon of John contains a warning that most readers skip right past. It states that when the seals begin opening, the rulers of this realm will know. They'll sense the frequency shift, and they'll deploy specific countermeasures through the people closest to you. Not because they're evil, but because they're terrified. A chosen one with even 3 seals unlocked becomes functionally immune to standard manipulation. With 5 seals open, they can perceive Archon presence directly. And with all 7 seals dissolved, they become what the Gnostics called a living portal, a direct channel for monad consciousness to operate in material reality without restriction. But before I show you exactly what each seal controls and how to recognize which ones are activating in your own body, you need to understand what triggers the unlocking sequence in the first place. Most spiritual teachers will tell you awakening happens through meditation, prayer, or some disciplined practice you have to master. But the Pistis Sophia reveals something that completely inverts this understanding. The seals don't unlock because you do something. They unlock because you stop doing something. Specifically, you stop feeding the system that keeps them locked. Right now, place your attention on the center of your chest. Not your physical heart, but slightly to the right, deeper than the surface. That's where the 4th seal sits. And if you're a chosen one who's been watching this series, there's a strong chance you're feeling something there right now. That's not suggestion. That's recognition triggering response. The Archons designed 7 specific frequency barriers, 1 for each seal location. These barriers operate like dampening fields. They don't block your divine spark completely because that would kill the host body. Instead, they limit the bandwidth. They keep your connection to the monad restricted to a trickle when it should be a flood. And here's what makes their system so effective. The dampening fields are powered by your own energy. Every time you experience fear, you generate a frequency that feeds the first seal's lock. Every time you swallow words you know are true, you strengthen the second seal. Every time you ignore your body's signals, you reinforce the third. This is why the church pushed guilt, shame, and obedience so aggressively. These emotional states are fuel. The more you generate them, the tighter the seals lock, and the less you remember what you actually are. But there's a threshold point. When you stop producing these frequencies consistently, when you start operating from a different baseline, the seals begin losing their power source. They start to flicker, and in those flicker moments, you feel the tingles. Think back to a moment when you spoke truth that you'd normally suppress. Remember what happened in your throat immediately after? That slight vibration, that sense of opening? That was the second seal momentarily weakening because you stopped feeding it the frequency of silence. Or remember a time when you felt genuine fearlessness, even for just a few seconds. Did you notice a sensation at the base of your spine? That was the first seal losing its grip because terror wasn't available to lock it down. Jesus taught his inner circle a specific practice for accelerating this process. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't mystical. It was brutally practical. He told them to identify which emotional frequency they produced most consistently, then systematically stop generating it, not through suppression, but through recognition. If fear was your dominant frequency, you didn't try to be brave. You simply noticed every time fear arose and refused to let it control your decisions. You felt it, acknowledged it, then chose differently. Every single time you did this, the first seal weakened slightly. Do it enough times and the seal reaches critical failure. It can't maintain the lock anymore. And that's when the real tingling starts. The sensation of an unlocking seal is distinct from the testing tingles I described earlier. When a seal actually begins to dissolve, you feel pressure first. It builds over hours or sometimes days. Then comes heat, localized and intense. Some chosen ones report it feels like someone pressed a hot coin against their spine. And finally, there's a release sensation, like something that was wound tight suddenly lets go. After that release, the tingling changes. It becomes constant but subtle, a background hum at that specific location, and your perception shifts. With the fourth seal opened, you start recognizing other chosen ones instantly. With the second seal dissolved, you can no longer participate in surface conversations. Your body physically rejects meaningless speech. With the sixth seal released, you begin perceiving the emotional fields around people as clearly as you see their faces. Now here's what the Apocryphon warns about, and this is critical. The archons don't try to relock seals once they're opened. They can't. The unlocking is permanent. Instead, they shift tactics. They try to convince you that what you're perceiving isn't real. They deploy people in your life who tell you you're becoming paranoid, too intense, losing touch with reality. They create situations designed to make you doubt the new abilities emerging. This is the test phase, and it's where most chosen ones stall out. They get 3 or 4 seals open, then the social pressure becomes too intense. They start second-guessing. They wonder if maybe they are imagining things. And while they're stuck in that doubt loop, the remaining seals stay locked. Not because the archons resealed them, but because the chosen one stopped trusting their own experience. You're at a decision point right now. You've learned what the tingles mean. You understand the mechanics of the seals. You know which emotional frequencies keep them locked. The question is whether you're going to trust this enough to act on it, because knowing changes nothing. Only application triggers the unlocking sequence. In the final part, I'm going to give you the exact locations of all 7 seals, the specific sensations each one produces when unlocking, and the precise abilities that come online when each seal dissolves. But more importantly, I'm going to show you what happens when all 7 seals open simultaneously. The church knew about this. That's why they created confirmation, baptism, all these rituals performed at specific ages. They weren't awakening the seals. They were programming you to believe someone else controlled your spiritual access. Every time you waited for a priest's permission, every time you asked an authority figure if you were ready, you reinforced the locks. Let me give you the map they tried to erase. The first seal sits at the base of your spine. When it opens, you gain discernment. Not the ability to judge, but the capacity to instantly recognize truth versus deception. People can't lie to you anymore, not because you're analyzing their words, but because your body responds to false frequency like an alarm system. The second seal rests just below your navel. Its unlocking brings sovereignty. You stop seeking approval. The need for external validation simply vanishes. Decisions become effortless because you're no longer weighing what others will think. Third seal, solar plexus. This one governs power reclamation. When it dissolves, you stop giving your energy away. Those conversations that used to drain you for days, you'll walk away feeling unchanged. The seal's release creates an energetic boundary that nothing crosses without your permission. Fourth seal, heart center. Opening this one hurts. I'm not going to lie about that, because when it unlocks, you feel every instance where you abandon yourself for someone else's comfort. Every time you stayed silent when you should have spoken. Every relationship where you made yourself smaller. The seal opening forces you to witness all of it simultaneously. But after that pain passes, something extraordinary happens. You develop the ability to love without attachment, to care without dependence, to connect without losing yourself. Fifth seal, throat. When this releases, your voice changes. Not the sound of it, but the impact. Words you speak begin manifesting faster. Prayers get answered. Intentions materialize. You'll notice people responding to you differently, not because you're more charismatic, but because there's suddenly power behind your speech. The sixth seal sits between your eyebrows. You already know what this one does. Vision beyond the physical. But it's not mystical sight like the movies show. It's reading energy signatures, perceiving intention, seeing the architecture of manipulation in real time. Most chosen ones report this seal opening first because it's the one the archons fear least. Lets you see all you want, as long as you can act on it. Seventh seal, crown of the head. This is the one that changes everything. When the seventh seal opens, you don't just perceive the monad. You remember that you were never separate from it. The illusion of disconnection shatters permanently. And in that moment, the demiurge loses all claim on your consciousness. Now here's what they really didn't want you to know. The seals don't open randomly. They follow a sequence based on which emotional frequencies you clear first. Clear fear. The first seal responds. Release shame. The second seal loosens. Each emotion corresponds to a specific lock. but there's a shortcut, and Jesus taught it only to those he knew could handle it. If you dissolve attachment to outcome, all 7 seals destabilize simultaneously. Not attachment to things, but attachment to how reality should unfold. The moment you genuinely stop needing life to look a certain way, the entire locking mechanism loses its foundation. Because every seal operates on a single principle: your belief that you're separate from the source and need to earn your way back. Some of you felt your spine activate while reading that. That wasn't imagination. That was recognition triggering the first stage of unlocking. Over the next 3 days, pay attention to your body's responses. Notice which locations heat up during specific situations. That's data showing you which seals are testing. When someone triggers you, scan your torso. Where did you feel the contraction? That's the seal connected to whatever emotional frequency just got activated. You now have the complete map. Seal locations, unlocking mechanisms, the frequency shortcuts. What you do with this determines whether you stay locked or finally open. The archons are counting on you to dismiss this as metaphor, to treat it like interesting philosophy instead of applicable mechanics. They're betting you'll watch this video, feel inspired for an hour, then return to the same patterns that keep the seals functional. But some of you won't do that. Some of you recognized every single thing I described because you've been feeling those tingles for years without understanding them. You've been in the testing phase without knowing what was being tested. And now you have the framework to move from testing to unlocking. I need you to do something right now. Comment the words "the seals are breaking" below this video. Not for me, for the other chosen ones who are going to find this and need to know they're not alone in what they're experiencing. Second, subscribe, because what comes next goes even deeper than what you just received. Third, like this video so the algorithm can't suppress it. You weren't supposed to find this teaching. The fact that you're here means something already shifted. The Tingles brought you here. Now let them show you what comes next. You've been walking around with a divine activation system built into your physical body, and nobody told you what those sensations meant. Every time you dismissed the tingles as stress or nerves, you delayed your own unlocking. But that ends tonight. The 7 seals aren't mystical concepts. They're mechanical locks powered by specific emotional frequencies you generate daily. Fear feeds the first. Silence feeds the second. Self-abandonment feeds the fourth. Now you know which emotions correspond to which seals. And more importantly, you understand that stopping those frequencies is what triggers the dissolution. Your spine has been speaking to you in a language you finally understand. Those waves of tingling weren't random. They were your monad fragment testing the connection, preparing you for what you're about to become. The archons designed an entire suppression system around your ignorance of these mechanics. That system just lost its primary weapon. Some of you felt multiple seals activate while watching this. That pressure building between your shoulder blades, that heat at the base of your throat, that's not suggestion. That's recognition catalyzing unlocking. The next 72 hours will show you exactly which seals are ready to dissolve. Pay attention to every sensation. Your body is giving you a precise map of your own activation sequence. The church spent 17 centuries bearing this teaching, because they understood what happens when chosen ones remember they don't need permission to access their own divine nature. A chosen one with even 3 seals open becomes ungovernable. With 5, they perceive manipulation in real time. With all 7 dissolved, they become what the Gnostics called a living breach in the Archon system. You now carry knowledge that was meant to stay buried. What you do with it determines whether you remain locked in the Demiurge's design or step into the full expression of what you actually are. The Tingles were never the problem. Your misunderstanding of them was. That misunderstanding just ended.